The 360 camera industry in 2026 is operating in one of the most intense competitive phases it has ever seen. The category, once dominated by a single clear leader, has now evolved into a three-way technological contest where each major player is pushing aggressively in different directions. DJI entered the space with a focus on larger sensors and stronger low-light performance. GoPro returned after a long development cycle with the Max 2, and Insta360, the longtime market leader, now finds itself defending its position with what appears to be its next major release, the Insta360 X6. What makes the current situation particularly interesting is that the earliest public sign of the X6 was not a teaser campaign, not a leak from a marketing event, and not even an official announcement. Instead, it came through regulatory filings that surfaced in late March 2026. At first glance, it was an unremarkable entry in government certification databases, but the details quickly drew attention from industry watchers. The name listed was Insta360 X6, and for those who follow product cycles closely, this kind of filing often represents one of the most reliable early indicators that a product is nearing launch. As of June 2026, the X6 has now cleared certification in 3 separate regions: China, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States. The approvals reportedly arrived within the same week in March, suggesting a coordinated global rollout strategy rather than isolated testing. The device is associated with the model designation CSABXA under registration number ER576426, and all listings currently show an active status. While certification alone does not confirm final specifications, it does strongly suggest that the hardware is complete or very close to completion. At the same time, another pattern has emerged that further strengthens the anticipation around the X6. The Insta360 X5 has begun receiving consistent price reductions across major retail platforms. Discounts of around $100 have appeared on multiple storefronts, with Amazon and other global retailers matching these adjustments almost immediately. This behavior is not unusual for Insta360. Historically, the company has followed a recognizable pricing cycle where previous models are gradually discounted shortly before the announcement of a successor. Both the X4 and X5 experienced similar price adjustments in the weeks leading up to their respective launches. The repetition of this pattern has led many observers to conclude that the X6 is approaching its announcement window, likely targeting a summer release. To understand why the X6 is generating so much attention, it is important to examine where the X5 currently stands and why its limitations have become more apparent in 2026. The X5 introduced dual 1.28-inch sensors, which represented a meaningful improvement over the X4's smaller 1.2-inch class sensors. It also incorporated Insta360's triple AI chip architecture, combining a 5nm AI processor with 2 additional imaging processors. This configuration enabled improved low-light performance through computational techniques, particularly in its pure video mode. However, despite these advancements, the X5 has clear technical boundaries that cannot be overcome through software updates alone. One of the most significant limitations lies in its resolution pipeline. Although the camera outputs 8K video, the sensor architecture relies on upscaling rather than true native 8K capture. This means that the final output is partially reconstructed from lower resolution data rather than fully resolved at the sensor level. Additionally, the processing system is not capable of internal 10-bit recording, which restricts color flexibility during post-production. For casual users, these constraints may not be immediately noticeable. However, For professional creators working in color grading environments such as DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere Pro, the lack of 10-bit color depth significantly reduces the flexibility of the footage. It limits how far exposure and color adjustments can be pushed without introducing banding or degradation. Thermal performance is another important factor shaping the discussion around the X5. Under real-world conditions, particularly in warm outdoor environments, continuous 8K recording tends to be limited to roughly 70 to 80 minutes before thermal protection begins to intervene. In higher ambient temperatures exceeding 26 degrees Celsius, this runtime decreases further. For creators filming long-form travel content, events, or continuous action sequences, this limitation can become a practical constraint rather than a theoretical specification. These limitations form the backdrop against which the Insta360 X6 is being developed. Based on consistent information from multiple industry sources and regulatory hints, the X6 appears to be designed specifically to address these weaknesses. One of the most significant rumored changes is the adoption of a full 1-inch sensor system across both lenses. This would represent a major leap in light gathering capability and dynamic range, bringing the X6 into direct competition with or even ahead of systems like DJI's Osmo 360. Implementing 1-inch sensors in a dual-lens 360-degree camera is not a trivial engineering challenge. It requires a complete redesign of the optical system, including lens geometry, heat management, and internal space optimization. Larger sensors generate more heat and demand more physical space, meaning the entire internal architecture must be re-engineered to maintain a compact and usable form factor. This is where the rumored shift toward improved thermal design and potentially a magnesium alloy chassis becomes significant. A stronger and more heat-efficient body would help support sustained high-resolution recording without triggering thermal throttling. In conclusion, the Insta360 X6 is emerging at a pivotal moment in the evolution of the 360 camera market. With regulatory certifications in place, consistent price reductions on its predecessor, and a rumored specification list that directly addresses known limitations, the device appears to be preparing for a summer 2026 launch. Whether it fully delivers on the expectations built around it will ultimately depend on how well Insta360 balances hardware innovation with thermal efficiency, software intelligence, and real-world usability. For now, all signs point to a product designed not just as an incremental update, but as a strategic response to a rapidly evolving competitive landscape.